Hello there, let's just go for a quick hot lap around Zolder with a Porsche 911, the old one. And coming out of the last turn, you really want to use all the curb on the left hand side to maximize your exit and get the most speed onto the straight. And here on the right hand side, you just brake after this last flagpole thing. And you can see I'm already turning my wheel to the apex, and then after that I'm starting to brake just to get the car basically to the apex, because if you turn the car too much, the rear just comes around and you spin out. And at this point, this is basically the transition point, coming from braking to going on the power, and it's already before the apex, but as you can see, I'm slowly getting on the power, and at the apex I'm nearly already full power, and then I'm going to let the car drift out wide and use all the track again. For turn 2 I'm going to the outside as just as normal, and you can see I'm already, it's the biggest steering input I think through the whole corner, and I'm still completely on the throttle just to get the car pointed where I want to, basically to the apex, and then try to brake into a straight line. And you can see as soon as I brake, I'm straightening the steering back and just controlling the car under braking that it doesn't spin around. And when I have the car somewhat under control, I'm basically putting the last steering input to get to the apex and then get back onto the throttle. And on the exit, have to counter steer just to have the car pointing in the right direction. Just going to the outside, completely on the throttle, and just, yeah, trying to get the next corner, which is, this apex is just pretty late to get the best line around this orange marker on the right hand side. Basically nearly where the curb ends, that's where you hit that apex. And the next turn is quite a tricky one. You want to brake just here on the, where the road, basically the second road is, and then go to the inside, and just before the apex of the corner I shift down to third to get a better power delivery for the straight, and I'm onto the throttle and have a 90-degree steering angle just to get the car, use all of the road and get all the speed I can for the straight. And coming up is, I think, one of the trickiest part of this corner, which can cost quite a lot of time. And I'm just braking after the 100 beard, just before this shadow on the ground, which is a good braking marker, I think. And then shifting down 2 seconds just before I turn in, and try to drive this as straight as possible and always have 2 wheels on the ground, and I'm already at full power at the apex of the second part of the chicane. And coming over the hill with the hopefully good speed you have, you just want to go to the slightly to the outside and choose a really late apex, basically where the corner ends, to get brake on the outside for this next chicane. And brake in a straight line and really late downshifts just to keep the car as stable as possible. And you can see I downshift basically when I'm already at the apex of the first part of the chicane. And these 2 corners are basically a setup for the third corner. You want to compromise both your exits, go as tight as possible on the to the right hand side on the first corner, and to the left hand side on the second corner, just to get as soon as possible on the power for the last, basically the third part of the chicane, the right hander. And I didn't really do a good job here. My delta is somewhat close, but you can see onto the next right hander, and after that I lose quite a bit of time, I think 3 or 4 tenths. And speaking about the third corner, I'm quite late on the throttle here. You can basically, if you do it correctly, you can be at nearly 100% of the throttle at the apex of the third corner to get the best run out of here. This next right-hander is just a small lift if you get it perfectly. I have to lift a little bit more because I choose a little bit too late of an apex, but you want to get your 2 right wheels on the curb and use it to rotate the car and get basically as much speed as you can down this next straight. And coming over the hill is one of the trickiest braking points because you don't really have a reference. I just brake shortly before the wall ends onto the right hand side, and braking again in a straight line and shifting 2 seconds just before you turn in. And on the exit you need to be a little bit patient because it's quite easy to go too early on the throttle and basically end up in the grass on the outside and lose quite a lot of speed. And on this one I completely bottled the last chicane, so we're gonna switch over to another POV. And for the last chicane you brake on the shadow and brake into straight line again, shift down to second just before you turn in. Compromise the exit of the first turn to get a better run and get earlier on throttle for the second turn. And that's it. That's a lap of zolder. Thank you guys for watching. You're gonna see the full lap without me talking over it and slowing it down. And now it's not a perfect lap, but I hope I could show you something and you learn something from it.
You've just done a 143.8.